Hey, welcome back to the final installment in the Like Me series. So, we started with Get Like Me. We did the intermediary Live Like Me. And now, finally, let's Win Like Me. This is a series that I established for people getting into the points and miles game and how to build step upon step in order to be the most successful that they possibly can be. I want to thank everybody for their engagement. I want to thank everybody for the tips and tricks that they've put in, and just all across the channel, period, just for the support and the popularity of the videos. It is very much so appreciated. So in order to win like me, I guess I gotta just get to the point, but you know I can't do that until my co-star does her thing.
Welcome back to my dad's channel. If you're new here, make sure to click that like button and subscribe, and don't forget to share.
So as I always say, mastering something, mastering an art form, the first 99% is normally fairly easy, relatively speaking. It is that final 1% that separates the practitioners from the masters, that separates the A tier from the S tier, that separates the people who wield tremendous influence to those literally just trying to shuck for a few views. You know what I mean? So this is the part where we are going to get into a bit of nuance. This is the part where we're going to get into specifics that most people normally would not engage in because, well, it's the little bits that matter. But these are the bits that glue everything together. So the first one in our series here. Now, as everyone knows, I use my points for travel. I lean 99% towards travel, 1% towards cashback. So these will all be travel focused. And the very first one is knowing your alliances. If you are going to be redeeming points for travel, you cannot do so and not understand Star Alliance carriers versus One World carriers versus SkyTeam carriers. I've done videos on all three of these carriers and the steps on how to attain status with them, their carrier partner airlines, the big three domestics that lead these carriers. I've done videos on all of them, but it is so extremely important to understand your carrier so that way you understand that even with non-carrier airlines, when you want to book that great Emirates route that you never thought that you would get out of out of Houston to Dubai, you have to know that even though they're non-alliance, booking them through Qantas, while you may pay some more taxes, might be your best bet if you can't find the availability on Emirates. These are not aligned airlines. But when you know your alliances and your non-alliance carriers, like me, you get to know that kind of stuff. And then you also know that if you want to book flagship business class with American, I mean, you can decide to go through Qantas once again because Qantas is a one world carrier. You know what I mean? You can book Japan Airlines through American Airlines because they're both one world carriers. Hawaiian has now been taken over by Alaska. So now Hawaiian is now a one world partner. So now you can get your first class Hawaiian Airlines experiences by booking through Alaska, which has a very robust program. You know what I mean? These are all the questions that you need to be you need to be able to answer at the drop of a dime. If you want to go to Incheon and you want to book Korean Air, you can do so via Delta because they are SkyTeam partners. Or if you want to go to the South Pacific via Air France, you can do so through KLM, which is partnered through Air France, but you can also book that through Virgin Atlantic, who is now a SkyTeam partner. Star Alliance, some of the best booking sites to book Star Alliance flights like Lufthansa First Class and the 747 is Avianca. You know, another great place to book Star Alliance Lufthansa business class flights is Air Canada. Air Canada is amazing to book Star Alliance flights. Also, you can book ANA flights via United. So these are all the things that you need to know at the drop of a hat. You need to know your airline alliances because the majority of airlines are a part of one alliance or the next. And knowing the differences can save you a lot of points, time, and money. And also there's availability that is there that you may not know of anywhere else that can help you move your redemptions along. The second step to winning like me is timing, timing, timing. Timing is so important in redemptions. It does not get enough shine in the space. It does not get enough shine in the travel space. Timing is extremely important. You need to be aware of timing in all of its dynamics. What are your transfer times for your points from your American Express account to a partner airline? Are they the same? Are they different? I'm not talking about exchange ratios, but how long does it take for your points to get from your Amex card to that specific carrier? How long does it take to your Chase points to get from your Chase account to that specific carrier? I'm so deep in this game that I have to know my transfer times, because if you do not have an immediate transfer time, and most of them, the immediate transfer times tend to be something that is an aggregate value. Whereas most of the time they will tell you it can take up to 24 to 36 hours. And there is no scarier thing than transferring points that do not show up immediately when you are trying to get a booking on a popular route. Because I'm telling you right now, 24 to 36 hours is a lifetime in points redemptions. So that timing, you have to be aware of. How long does it take your points to get to the transfer partner that you are choosing? Because they are not all created equal. Now, in addition to that, in the vein of timing, when is the best time to book your redemption flight? Now, there are some flights like Japan Airlines' vaunted business and first class that you really want to book about a year out when they become available, because they get snapped up like that. Whereas conversely, on the far end of the spectrum, one of the best times to book Lufthansa's first class in the 747, where you fly ahead of the pilot in a beautiful single person suite, is actually within 2 weeks of takeoff. It's best to book it as short term as possible because you get the leftover redemption space. So those are two polar opposites. But if you don't know, then you don't know. You could be searching for first class Lufthansa on Avianca for ever and a day, not realizing that you really got to take the chance of right before you take off. Can you get first class? So that is another thing. Timing, timing, timing. It is that important. So you need to know when to book your redemptions. You need to know the best time to book your redemptions. You need to know how long your points are going to take, your convertible points are going to take from your convertible source to their destination. I cannot stress how important this is, because you can have a plan, you can plan for your path, you can have the target in your sights, but without any ammunition, you're never going to make the shot. The third one is going to be remembering that free travel is expensive. Number one, there's no such thing as free travel, but since that's the moniker everyone loves to use, and quote unquote almost free, let's dive into that, because I want you to be smart. I don't want you to fall for great marketing. You can't eat a point. You can't. Points don't buy food. Points don't buy clothes. Points don't buy sunscreen. Points don't buy picture packages. In some cases, they buy tours, but we'll get into that. But here's the thing: you've booked your trip with points, right? You've paid the taxes. Okay, my flight was $5.60. I paid zero out of pocket for the hotel. Okay, that's fine. Outside of the breakfast that may or may not be included, depending on your hotel status, how do you plan to eat? Where do you plan to go? How do you plan to see the locale? You're still going to need cash. You still need to have money. Using points does not mean that you forego responsible money handling, because even on a quote unquote free or close to free points powered trip, you still need money. Cash is king and it is not going anywhere. So make sure that you have money in hand. If you want to take tours, that's going to take money. Unless you book through the Chase Travel Portal and you have points, you can apply points to there. That's a video for a whole different day. But for the most part, you are going to be paying cash for these things. When I went to Italy with my wife, we booked our tours on demand while we were in Italy a day in advance. That's how we rode gondolas in Venice. That's how we went to Positano in the Amalfi Coast and were able to see the archaeological digs at Pompeii. That's how we were able to explore the depths of the Colosseum. All of those were booked a day in advance on the Chase Travel Portal, using my Freedom Unlimited, getting me 5 points per dollar, because at the time it was better than using Rakuten. So these are things that you have to understand. Points travel is something that you have to be prepared to pay for when you are boots on the ground. You save a lot of money. Yes, but also money still needs to be spent in order to have a great time and make this something that is memorable as opposed to something that you just got to do. So that is what we're looking for, making memories. And you have to make sure that you have the cash in order to make it meaningful. Now, the fourth thing, and this is going to be controversial. This is something that a lot of people say not to do, but I am telling you to do this once you get to this expert level. You have watched the first two videos, once you have mastered them. This is something I personally do. I know for a fact other creators have done it. They've made passing mention of it, but it's not especially something very popular in these YouTube streets. And that is doing speculative transfers. I have been known to do a speculative transfer to programs that I use. I use Air Canada a lot. I use Aeroplan a lot to book Star Alliance carriers. I get great value. So if there is a transfer bonus, chances are I'm going to jump on it. Recently, Hawaiian had up until June 30th, and a lot of people, June 30th to transfer over before they were no longer a transfer partner with American Express, and a lot of people did speculative transfers. Now, the difference between me and them is I am so deep in this game and that I will take these trips that speculative transfers for me, the only thing that they really do, as opposed to risking orphan points, is that it just may mean I have to take longer to plan a trip, maybe even longer than I want to. But speculative transfers can be huge values at 20, 30, 40% of your points cost to transfer, and that can be extremely useful. Especially consider a lot of people have bucket list trips that they may or may not think that they're able to take. But having that little store of points may be just the inspiration that you need to push yourself over the hump and get to this place that you always wanted to go to. So we're coming towards the end. Number 5. This is very important. This is what inspired me to do travel redemptions. Stand on the shoulders of giants. Do not be afraid to copy someone's itinerary. Look, this is not some red carpet event where you get shamed for wearing the same suit or the same dress. If it's of value, steal it. Because you never know how you can possibly improve or make little tweaks to make their itinerary personal to you. In some cases, they may have had to make tweaks that you don't have to because you have the points in order to make things happen. So please, stand on the shoulders of giants. If you see an itinerary that someone has done, by all means, build yours around it. Hell, you may be able to do it better. You may be able to use their itinerary not as a straight copy, but as a foundation for an even better trip. That is how I got into the game, watching a video that was done of this guy who took his wife to the Maldives, planned a $40,000 trip, paid $800 cash out of pocket for just their travel. I thought that A, it was impossible, B, it was just absolutely unreal. And so I started making my attempts. Now, after a couple of attempts, after a couple of trips, my wife and I have redeemed by ourselves over almost $60,000 in travel just in 2025 alone, with very little money out of pocket, including a trip that we paid 10 cents on the dollar for to see the Middle East and have just mind-numbing, mind-altering experiences that we thought we would never live to see. So stand on the shoulders of giants. Copy where you have to. Steal the ideas. They'll be okay. Hell, steal my ideas. Number 6. Don't be afraid to pivot. It is okay to cancel an award booking. You can. I would highly suggest that you know your cancellation policies, because in some cases you will get your points back. Some cases you might lose them. Others, you may have to give up the taxes that you paid. But it is okay to pivot, because in the highly subsidized world of points travel, that is one of the perks, is that mistakes don't cost as much. They don't cost thousands of dollars in a flight credit that you may or may not use. You can kind of almost start back at zero. So do not be afraid to pivot. Sometimes I personally have made redemptions and gotten the dates wrong because I'm looking at a European calendar where the week starts at Monday instead of Sunday. So I'm one day off and I've had to rearrange a flight. It is what it is. We all do it. We're human. We get to make mistakes, so do not be afraid to pivot. Don't be afraid to make your mistakes. This is why I tell people, When you start redeeming locally so you can make mistakes that don't necessarily have to cost you a ton of points if they cost you any at all. But do not be afraid to pivot. Do not be so stuck on one itinerary that you don't have a backup in hand. Pivot, 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 because you never know what this trip can turn out to be. Now, the final step to winning like me is closed mouths don't get fed. I don't care where you go. I don't care what you do. Never be afraid to ask for an upgrade. I don't care if it's at the ticketing counter, at the gate, at the hotel, 2 days into your trip. Understand that these points bookings, you are treated just the same as cash bookings in 99% of the cases. Like things like Emirates business class. If you book with points, you don't get the limo service. If you pay cash, you get the limo service. Okay, there is a difference there. And while there may be some demarcation of people booking with points and cash, that still does not affect the services that are available to you unless they are expressly written out when you do the booking. 99.9999999% of the time at a hotel, your points are just as good as cash, period. So do not be afraid to ask for upgrades. Look at the upgrade policy. Because what can end up happening is that your points value can skyrocket like mine did when I went to the second annual creator meetup. I did a points booking for the Roosevelt Hotel, a Waldorf property. My wife and I showed up for a couple of days stay, thinking that we just had a regular, I believe it was a regular 1-bedroom suite, and we were upgraded to the presidential suite. We had an entire living room. That place was sick. It was insane. You know what I mean? And Joe Barretto will tell you, he saw it. People saw the room. The room was sick. You could have hosted 23 people in there without an issue. So please, do not be afraid to ask for upgrades. Just don't. That's the best way that's the most scientific way I can say it. The worst thing they can do is say no. The worst thing they can do is say, we don't have the availability. It is what it is. But a lot of the times when people make point redemption trips, they tend to think that for some reason they have a scarlet letter on them. And that's not the case. If you're flying, like when I was flying Emirates first class over to Athens, my $12,000 seat that I only paid $106 for out of pocket was just as good as a $12,000 seat. Seats that the couple who probably paid cash, looked like they paid cash based on the amount of diamonds and gold that they were wearing. I was treated just the same as them. So make no mistake. Make no mistake whatsoever. You're just as good as everyone else. Do not be afraid to shoot for the moon. You may miss and hit a star. By all means, please take these steps. These are how I win in my travels. My wife is my biggest fan. She loves the experiences. And why not? 7 steps, 7 lucky steps that will get you towards that 1%. They do take work though. Learning your alliances. I've done the videos. Learn your alliances. I've done actual examples of booking through different alliances in order to get flights from one carrier by booking through another carrier. I've done those videos as well. Feel free to peruse the channel when you're getting into points and miles. These are all things. This video, these steps are the 1% that will get you from existing in the space to crushing the space. Period. This is all I can say. I'm not even going to argue with you. Is it debatable? Probably. Will I debate? Is this a hill I'm ready to die on? Dig me a plot. Give me a headstone. I'll die on this hill all day because I've lived it, I've experienced it, I've made the mistakes, I've helped others book, and it is something that I do enjoy doing. So that is it. That is the game, the last 7 steps in order to win like me in the travel redemption space. Whether you redeem domestically, whether you redeem internationally, it does not matter. It doesn't mean that you can't win. It doesn't mean that these experiences can't be highly subsidized so that you can put the bulk of your money towards something else that you care for. Or even if you book a $5,000 trip and you pay $50 out of pocket and you still want to burn that other $4,950, you can have some crazy experiences, still pay for the same trip. Now you've gotten double your value. That sounds like a good bit of business for me. So with that, I will be doing my pointy thing so I can go spend time with the family because I have a flight to California tomorrow. And that is about it. Check out those videos. Check out these videos. And with that, take it easy.